Security and a small pension. The pension will never increase in cost of living. It will stay flat forever. Well, until I die, then it doesn't matter. The Social Security did come up with about an 8% increase for this year. I buy groceries at Layton in Windcoast. They have the best prices that I have found. Their prices are increasing. In the past 6 months, I have noticed eggs have more than doubled in price. Canned corn, beans, peas, olives, etc., have increased by roughly 50%. A loaf of bread has not gone up as much as other things, but the loaf is smaller. If you read on the size of the loaf. Overall, our grocery bill has increased by roughly 30% in the last year. We cannot afford to buy the same food items we did 6 months ago. Then, a week ago, I got a natural gas bill. Wow, that was a shocker, if the rest of you saw that. I dug out my bill from a year ago, and I used 1/10 of a decatherm more this year than I did last year. The bill went from $109 to $160 something. I said, okay, where's the cost coming from? I looked at the cost, and lo and behold, the cost for natural gas went up 29%. The overall bill was almost 45% more than last year's. But then, to add insult to the world, I looked down on my gas bill, and there's a Utah sales tax that's 4.4%. Right below that is a Kaysville sales tax for 6%. So that means I get a total sales tax on my gas bill of 10.4%. That's probably the highest in the state. I think it's excessive. But please, as you do what you do, keep in mind your most vulnerable citizens, those who are retired, who cannot re-enter the workforce to make ends meet. I used to work for a Hill Air Force Base contractor. When our available funds would not cover the cost of wages, they laid off people. We said we would reduce the workforce to deal with the available funds. It's a novel idea. Rather than squeeze the citizens, you can actually cut the workforce. Why can't Kaysville balance their budget, prioritize it according to need, and if necessary, reduce the workforce?
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Thank you, Briggs. Thank you. Your time is up, but thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, Brig Lewis. Okay. Appreciate that. All right. Now we're moving on to presentations and awards. We have, who's going to present this? Cole? Okay, that would be great. Cole will set us up.
Just to give you a little brief backstory. So if you recall back in September of 2022, FFKR finished their assessment report for the old library building. After that, we went out with an RFP, request for proposal. In October, it ran for 2 months, from October to December. We received various numbers of proposals. We had a review committee that reviewed all the proposals and found those that actually met the qualifications or what the RFP was looking for in all of the various categories. And 2 of the submittals that we selected met those criteria that we were looking for as far as the proposals go. The one is Alchemy Development, and the second one is City Creek Construction. And they're here to present their proposal, and we kind of roughly have 30 minutes each, kind of a 15-minute presentation and a 15-minute questions that the council can ask each one of them. And so tonight on the agenda is just the presentation of these 2 proposals that were submitted. So I'll turn the time over to Josh with Alchemy, and then Bob Murray with City Creek will follow.
Thank you, Cole. And I just, for those that are watching or listening, the RFP process was provided to everybody. It was posted everywhere. We shared it on social media. It was on the city website. And we welcomed anyone who was interested in preserving the library building, helping us repurpose it, and creating a plan forward to pay for that, was invited to submit something. And so we appreciate these 2 for doing it. Okay, I'll turn the time over to you. Thank you.
this good to go?
It should be.
I've never seen one of these.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go.
Well, yeah, thank you for having us here. We really appreciate the opportunity to present our proposal and get the council's feedback and answer questions. I wanted to first, introduce our team because that's a big part of this proposal. We feel like we've kind of hand-selected the perfect team to take on this project, and these are all people that I've worked with, that I trust, and each person has a lot of experience. And so I'd like to just take a couple minutes to introduce our team. So my name's Josh Green. I grew up in Centerville. My grandma almost disowned me when I moved out of the county. I have a lot of family here still. My background is in real estate appraisal and consulting, development, investment.
I'm Brandon Rindlismacher. I lived in Kaysville for a short time when I was younger. My dad was a contractor and we moved all over the place. He did some projects out in West Kaysville. And my background's in construction and development. Have degrees here from universities in Utah, and I'll kind of oversee development of the project.
I'm John Gowerth. I'm a born and raised native of Kaysville. Went to Davis, ran around with Councilmember Blackham's son, and had the privilege of being coached by him in hockey, and
Oh, nice.
got whipped around by him pretty good. I went to school at the U of U and got my undergrad master's in architecture, and also got a certificate in historic preservation. And I will be the architect on this. Thanks.
I'm AJ Green. Grew up here in Davis County in Bountiful, working construction at MC Green and Sons, which is down there in Centerville. Now in North Salt Lake. My background is I did civil engineering for undergrad, and then went to law school, practiced at Ray Quinney and Nebeker for about 8 years before going in-house. Now I have partnered up with Alchemy as their attorney, and really excited about this project. And as exciting as pushing paper around is, I think this would be really neat for us and for the city as well.
My name is Cameron Barr, as you'll see on this next slide. My wife and I own a construction company, Barr Construction. We also did the Masters in Real Estate Development with a couple of these gentlemen behind us. My background's in construction. I've been doing it for over 15 years and have been responsible for either the development, construction, or operations of almost $900 million worth of work. And so we would be the lead contractor on this.
It's a long walk. My name's Chase Saxon. I've been in the digital marketing space for about 11 years. I actually own an agency that's literally right across the street. We started in 2014. I've been consulting Adobe's Fortune 20 companies for the last 7 years on digital marketing, and I teach up at Weber. So started investing in real estate. That's when I got to know Josh, probably about 5 years ago. And that's kind of pulling together the other side of this. So, and we just bought land right here in Kaysville. So we're building a home. It was a home that burned down, if you remember, off Centennial. And so we bought that property and are building a house there soon. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Across the street from me. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope you can see kind of the quality or level of expertise of the team that we've put together to take on this project. It's not an easy project, as you all know, with kind of the requirements, that all the things that were being looked for, and obviously with the historic nature of the building, want to be careful with that, and there's financing concerns, all those things, and so we tried to take all those things into consideration in this proposal, and what we've come up with is, and I think this meets the goals of the proposals as we read them and as we talked with Cole and Mayor Tran of what the city's looking for. But our idea is to convert the library into a modern food hall, and you know, as part of that, we would preserve the existing building. We obviously bring it up to code. It's got some issues there that would need to be addressed. And talking to Mayor Tran, one of the things that I felt was important from that conversation was keeping the kind of hometown feel of Kaysville, right? And so that fits right in with modern food halls. They're really curated restaurants that are local. It's not like a McDonald's, you know. It's not a mall food court. And you know, as part of that too, you know, we would include a flex space that could be used for a lot of things, for meetings, for art galleries, for pop-up retail, for private meetings, parties. And then there's a lot of space between the building and the street. And so part of what we wanted to do too, to kind of add to the vibrancy of Main Street, is to build out a big outdoor patio on the front, and to include some drivable surfaces for food trucks to pull up, you know, when it's warm, and have that outdoor patio be kind of an outdoor event center where there could be, you know, concerts, music, all types of things. So just for anyone that's not familiar with a food hall, again, it's not a food court that you would find in a mall. These are becoming really popular all over the country. You know, a lot of the big cities have them. We have a handful here in Utah, in Salt Lake and in Holiday. These are some of the ones that are here, just for reference. And I think what you'll see is, you know, if you look at the restaurants that are in there, these are all, you know, local restaurants. There aren't any, you know, national chains, and that's what we envisioned here too in the library food hall, which I should have said that we kind of the name that we're throwing out there is the Bamberger Food Hall, just kind of also paying tribute to the rail line that went through the area. And I mean, it's we think it would add to the vibrancy of the downtown by providing, you know, more eating options, a place to meet for business lunches, a place to bring your family. You know, if any of you have kids, they're like mine, they're really picky, and so to be able to go to one place and have 5 different options of foods, and you know, still be able to sit together in a common, you know, kind of cool dining area, is kind of the idea behind this. And we can kind of get into the details of this. I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about the design. He's the one that kind of put this together.
Yeah, you know, growing up in Kaysville, this area was kind of, you know, the community revolved around. There's the library that, growing up, we go do quite a bit, or you go over to Kaysville Theater, or when I was really young, there was a pizza place next to Kaysville Theater, and it was just, this is the hub of the community. And so, you know, we just kind of think this food hall design is a great idea, and, you know, with the historic nature of this building, you know, we want to respect it. So we're not really saying to change a lot on the outside. You know, the Farmington Stone look has kind of become a trademark of Kaysville civil buildings, and so really we're not changing much of that, but we are kind of thinking of essentially gutting the inside to bring it up to modern code, as well as, you know, to potentially open it up to kind of open trusses, and to kind of maybe make some of the windows slightly larger there in the front by the patio. But as you can see here, the food bays would be paired up against the back, and so that just for utilitarian reasons, you know, they can be close to that parking area. Also, we'd have a rear entrance there, you know, based off your guys' master plan of having an entrance off the district, off-street parking. But also, you know, we really want to open this up so that there's this big, nice patio, and that would butt up right up against the existing kind of memorial and flagpole there, and then just the stairs that go down and kind of connect to that new crosswalk you guys have in your master plan, as you can see here. And with that, Josh kind of mentioned to that, we just think it'd be great to kind of mix things up every now and again, especially when it's warm, that we can kind of have different local food trucks come in and kind of drive up onto to a drivable green space, so it doesn't impede traffic there, so that, you know, we can have different events. You know, we all know Davis football kind of is a big deal here, so this is something, you know, in the fall you could have food trucks come in, and we could have kind of a community tailgate. People come here before they drive or walk over to the game. And also, you know, like I mentioned, this main street of businesses, everybody here goes along there. So trying to kind of pull people in with this patio and courtyard is kind of something we strive to do. Here's just a quick rendering. You know, inside we bring everything up to complete modern code. I think we proposed kind of ditching the crawl space, filling that in, doing a slab on grade to support the heavy traffic and restaurant equipment, but really respecting the existing vernacular. We'd obviously probably swap out the windows for more modern, energy efficient ones. We'd probably go to kind of a metal roof for durability because it's such a low slope. But then there in the front is where we'd probably do the most changes, where we would cut it open to have, you know, put in some storefront glass just so that we can let a lot of natural light in there and really connect to Main Street. So here's just a few other kind of close-ups. But so we really are just trying to keep as much of the existing bones as possible to just respect them.
Yeah, and I think, as it's been alluded to, there's a couple key points that we want to do. Number one is the building is historic. We definitely want to try to preserve as much as we can. The interaction between parking lot, street, and everybody that migrates in and back and forth is key. And that can be achieved a lot of different ways with construction. A lot of times when people get into construction projects, there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to buildings like this. What's different about our team is that those ideas would be incorporated early, and we'd be able to tackle, identify any of those concerns right off the bat, to be able to know if we could open up certain things, or if we had to preserve other, you know, specific things that the city or certain residents or, you know, even the council's looking for. But the results of that can turn into a pretty amazing project. So some of these are some of the past projects that we've done, where we've taken old buildings and retrofitted them into restaurants and office space. And so a couple of these pictures on the left-hand side of the screen are what the, you know, future art space could look like, or the meeting hall. On the right-hand side, there's a lot of common restaurants that look like that. You've got, you know, different brands that are not, you know, all over the nation, but a lot that are just local here. That is what is alluded to, could be brought into this space, and you could have your own unique spot for each one. One of the great examples of that was the Woodbine project that's down in Salt Lake. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's right off 7th South. We were building a 5-story building right next to it, and that whole street the entire time there was dead. And as soon as they put that in, we didn't even have enough space for our construction guys to park, because there's so many people that would come there to eat their food. And it wasn't even just daytime, it was nighttime. Like, they're holding lots of regional events, lots of corporate events are being held there. And that's totally invigorated a part of 7th South that's between 5th and 6th West that before was just dead. And that's kind of the same vision that we have with this, is not so much that things are dead, but that could enliven the area around here in that same way. And again, we know that when it comes to construction, the costs for construction are usually about 70% of what the total budget is. So it's very important that a general contractor is involved early, and it helps identify with the design team what can be done to make sure we stay on budget. And part of the reason why we're all teamed up as a group is because we've had success doing this in the past, and know that we can apply the same applications here as we move forward. And we would start immediately. As soon as, you know, if we were awarded this, we would immediately start to try to figure out what the team, the design team, all the different engineers, and all of us would be involved with this. And the more the merrier, we feel like, because everybody gets to understand what's going on up front. There's very limited surprises as we go down the road. But everybody's engaged, and the feedback can mold as we go, rather than us presenting something and then having it go back, and then presenting something and then we go back. And that could change, and that could take forever. And with the market that we're in right now too, controlling costs in a time frame is critical. And so part of having the integrated team would help manage all that through. And again, John alluded to some of what the finishes would look like, but the intent is to preserve as much as we can, but really try to transform that to allow for as much flexibility that the city and the people that live here could take advantage of.
So just to touch on the finance side, so I mean, this is, you know, a great idea, right? But how do you fund this project, right? And it,
Yeah.
you know, that was one of the limitations of the RFP, right? Was that the city, you know, doesn't have a lot of funds to be able to put into this project, right? And so we thought of a couple ways to handle that, and the idea that we liked the most was to form a public-private partnership for our team to partner with the city on this project. You know, that would allow, you know, the city to still have some control and some share in the profits of the operations, right? As well as the, you know, increased sales taxes and, you know, I don't know how many new jobs this would create, but like, you know, those restaurants need to be staffed, right? And so I think there's public benefits of doing it this way. The other thing that it would allow us to do is, well, okay, basically, you know, a public-private partnership. So the idea was that the city would basically contribute the building and the lands underlying it to this project, to this partnership. And then our team would go out and secure, you know, a bank loan. Historic tax credits are available. There's all kinds of grants and other things like that we can look to. And then, you know, beyond that, part of why we brought AJ onto the team is because he's, you know, really good at capital raising and working with investors. And so that's kind of how we see this working. Obviously, there's other ways that this could be structured. You know, we talked at one time with Mayor Tran and also I think with Cole about, you know, doing a long-term lease with the city. So we're open to any scenario, but really our ideal would be to partner with the city and have this be a collaborative project and really, you know, like Mr. Galbraith talked about earlier, is to really involve the community in this project and how it shapes up. And we'll get into that a little bit when we talk about the marketing plan. But so here's, I mean, kind of our, you know, our rough pro forma of what this looks like. So, you know, this operation does generate income that if we did the public-private partnership, some of that could be shared with the city, right, as well as the sales taxes and other things. Chase.
I get the fun job, right? I'm the guy in the hat, you know. I honestly think from a marketing perspective, we talked a lot about this. One of the best things about an opportunity like this is community engagement, right? When we talk about having local opportunities for entrepreneurs who have existing food trucks and maybe looking for a brick and mortar, even when we talk about some of the food truck rallies. So I teach entrepreneurship up at Weber State, all the digital marketing and e-commerce courses. And it's amazing how many entrepreneurs are just looking for great opportunities. One of a good business partner and friend is the person who did the Las Vegas container project. Fred Mosler and Tony Shea, $350 million project in Las Vegas. And it was centered around how do you get the local community involved and not just selecting restaurants because they're going to be the patrons of those restaurants. But how do you also get local entrepreneurs involved, right? Because that community, once one person's involved, everyone's going to want to be involved. And so that's where you think of other things even outside of the building, like the jamborees and events, and obviously that helps feed additional people to the theater, right? And selfishly, our office is right across the street, so it's good for us. So one of the first things that we do, we've already created this website. You guys can go on and see it today. So it's a live website. We would start doing like some voting immediately. Should we be awarded the RFP? We already have a few preliminary conversations with restaurants, local restaurants, right? And they're all super intrigued and interested. So we would go out and secure probably about anywhere from 10 to 12 LOIs, right? Then we would have the community vote on a few of those. That would kind of be step one, right? And then ongoing website and social ads to make sure we're driving traffic to the actual place, right? So these restaurants feel like there's a marketing arm behind them. But then the other piece is making sure that we have technology embedded throughout the restaurants, right? So things like digital kiosks, mobile ordering. There's a lot of really cool things you could do with Wi-Fi beaconing right now, where you talk about marketing and push notifications, and so and that's kind of the world we come from. So that's the marketing plan from a 30,000-foot view. But again, we feel like it could eventually sustain itself, and there's a lot of different partnerships even from like the branding side that could come involved, right? I mean, things that are unrelated to restaurants that would want to partner and to kind of like throw events and whatnot, which again is additional sales tax revenue as we talked about. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, we would really, hopefully we didn't go too far over our presentation time, but we would really love to answer questions and get feedback from the council on, anything. Like, we've got the whole team here, like, ready to answer questions. I really think, that this does meet the goals of the RFP, preserving the building, adding to the vibrancy and life of downtown, and I think there's ways to do this with minimal investment, from the city that still allows the city to get, some of those financial benefits. But we'd love to answer any questions or get your feedback on anything that we've shown.
Okay, so thank you. We really appreciate this. This is very interesting. So public-private partnership, what it looks like to you is the city donates the building and the land on a long-term lease, or are you wanting to you want us to donate it in real time, so you'd actually own it? Is that what you're?
So our idea was that we would own it together. So
Okay.
The city and our development team.
So we co-own the
would
building
form
and the land?
A partnership.
Okay.
And the city's contribution would be the building and the land.
Okay.
Our contribution would be the skills and
Okay.
the financing to execute on them.
As a 50-50 type partnership, or?
I mean, we didn't drill that deep into it.
Okay, I was
and
just
that's something
curious.
that could be obviously negotiated if we
Okay.
were awarded the.
And then you would anticipate sharing profits if it were a true partnership like that?
Yes.
As well as costs? No? The city costs would be donated in terms of just the land in the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Give us an idea of some of the types of restaurants. I mean, as I look at this, I think this is a fantastic idea. But I guess from the city perspective, I think, okay, this is so fantastic. What if in 3 years the restaurants all left? Then what would happen then?
Restaurants don't leave thriving spots.
Okay.
So they would leave. And one of the unique things when you look at like the potato project.
Oh, yeah, come to the mic, thanks.
No, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. It is, yes.
One of the unique things when you look at it from a marketing perspective and bringing in restaurants is that community is always there, right? And it's a revolving door. And so even as restaurants potentially outgrow it, there's always someone to come fill their spot, right?
Really?
When you look at like the container project and even some of the Hall Pass stuff down in Salt Lake and some of the way that they've done it, it's a revolving door. There's always a restaurant ready to take that spot because there's finite space, but there's tons of different food trucks and whatnot that are actually trying to find a small brick and mortar.
Okay.
And they can't afford like their own building, so.
So it's a specialized niche community kind of, because we, like you mentioned, the pizza shop, we've had several different types of restaurants along Main Street that aren't there now.
Yeah.
And so.
And I would say, and I say this respectfully,
Okay.
There's a difference between a restaurant owner and a digital marketer who knows how to market a restaurant.
Really? Okay.
And so I think one of the biggest things, it's like a dentist. I mean, you could be the best dentist in the world, but if you can't get people in your building, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
And because of that and the shared expense, that's kind of like why the advantage of a restaurant would want to look at it.
Okay.
And which makes it appealing for a local. I mean, a local shop can't go and afford,
Right. Its own
Main
space.
Street space and all that stuff. So shared drink stations, shared amenities. I mean, that helps drastically, like your bottom line as a restaurant. So.
And then, as an owner of this facility, would you be leasing to those restaurants, or would the idea be for them to purchase some of these spaces, like
Nope. So they'd be leases. They'd be long-term leases. And
Okay.
we could even negotiate profit shares with them. It'd be
Okay.
pretty common. Which again, we'd be splitting with you guys. Because if you're doing all this marketing for them, then of course they're going to pay for it.
Okay.
So the busier it is, then the
Yeah.
higher your revenue could be.
benefits everybody? Okay. Council members, go for it.
I almost not as much of a question as I have a daughter lives in Salem, Oregon, and they live about a block from one of the food truck consortiums or food halls, and it's always packed, and they always have rotating. There's some that have been there forever, and forever for 5 years that they've lived there. And there's a couple that they move out because they either didn't make it, or they weren't good enough, and others move in right away. So, you know, to his
like that,
point,
huh?
so there's always someone.
There's a few other people down there. It looks like Abby has her son.
Go ahead, Abby.
I just had a quick question. So the marketing piece, does that continue throughout like the life of the building? Like, do you guys continue to market it, or how does that work?
It's ongoing, so it's pretty common for a lot of restaurants when you talk about, again, like a percentage of gross revenue, for them to put back into that marketing budget, right? Because it'd be us driving traffic for them as well as themselves. So a lot of them are on social and creating good content, which of course we could repurpose. But 100%, it's always going to be an ongoing marketing engine, right? Even when it's like word of mouth and like things have built up and it's pretty consistently busy, it's important to stay on top of, you know, what's new coming to those menus and let us help you push kind of some of those items and specials and events and different things like that. So it'd be an ongoing effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Jackson.
Couple questions. Okay, so the flex space, art space, can you give me a number of the approximate square footage of that space? It doesn't have to be that accurate. I just want to kind of know.
Will you come to the microphone? Thank you.
There's like is it the Lieutenant General office? Or what?
It's a gallery, right?
Yeah, so it's a little bit bigger than that.
What would your guess be on the square footage?
300 to 350.
Okay,
That's like usable square footage.
okay.
You can see if we can, Josh can get this to work. But yeah, we just see that it's, you know, it could be a conference room that, you know, the city, you guys are right next door. It could be, you know, used for city departments. People could, you know, use it for birthday parties or private parties, or, yeah, it's big enough you could do a small art gallery here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love, art is so important too. If you walked around our city hall here, almost all the offices just has fantastic art, and it's part of our culture and our heritage. And so I do think, for me, it's an important part of that building. And I would love to not only see art, but an active art space where the community, maybe there's yearly contests with kids K through 12 or whatnot, and just bring people in constantly to be very vibrant and whatnot. And so thanks for the square footage estimate. And then one thing I would say, the east entrance, it's not very inviting. The entrance that most of the folks would use in the parking lot and city and whatnot. And so I would love to see that more inviting as you walk in, a bigger door and whatnot.
Yeah, we would too, and that's something we'd love to work with you. Just looking at your general plan, we were hoping there's some flexibility there, because, yeah, a lot of people are going to drive, and that's going to be where they're going to park to get out to enjoy on a pedestrian level this whole district. So
Yeah.
we would like to kind of manipulate that a little bit, but we just didn't quite know the constraints. So, but no, we completely agree.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a way to do it and we're preserving the majority of the building and whatnot, but just a little more approachable and whatnot. And then Bamberger name. I haven't heard Bamberger before. Where does that come from? The railroad that came through here.
Yeah, there's actually a monument, like, I think it's on the same block, right, of where there's, yeah.
Am I the only one that doesn't know this? I think I am. I apologize. I'm going to go look at that monument and do my homework.
Well, so the logo too that we kind of were playing with is based on the Bamberger rail line.
Okay.
Their original logo too.
Okay, interesting. And then, last question. Oh, I do want to state as well that, what's the name of that place in Salt Lake? The Woodbine Food Hall. I went recently with my coworkers, and it's beautiful inside. It's a very old building, historic, but absolutely beautiful. Lots of options, and all my coworkers went to different restaurants, and we all sat down on this table. It made me feel young and hip, and it's bringing vibrancy to the west side of Salt Lake City. And normally, that used to be quite a dangerous industrial part, and so I think I love that concept. So.
Well, and that's a good example too. When you brought up arts, they host a lot of arts shows and galleries there as part of that that space too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we'd love to incorporate that.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right.
Me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Awesome presentation. I want to start by just saying, you're making kind of a comment on the fact of where we were and where we are right now. Maybe you're not as familiar with sort of the history of this building. The talk of just tearing it down, and then you know, the folks that are here or watching online that are part of the Historic Building Commission, I see some, who came in droves to say, hey, we want to keep this building, and then our great staff went out and got a grant that paid for FFKR. So maybe you know all this, but it's just, to me, it's just like I'm sitting here beaming with excitement about the fact that that we're actually seeing this kind of stuff and these kind of think tanks. I mean, we honestly, some part of us were thinking we're going to put up this RFP and nobody's going to come forward. And there's two amazing ideas that are being brought tonight. And so I just, you know, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say how grateful I am for the process, and I'm grateful I am for the citizens for speaking their mind. To that note, I do have a special relationship to this building. Like I've said before, my grandfather was the mayor that put forth the bond for the building. And so I fall on the preservation side of things, and it sounds like you're interested in doing that. In the drawings, it looked like the outside was more of like a gray brick. Is that maybe just not color matching?
Yeah.
So would you? Yeah, I mean,
that's just a loose conceptual.
Okay.
We want to keep all the existing farmwork in stone. So we'll repoint the mortar if we need to, but we want to keep it as is. The only thing we'd swap out are a little bit better windows because they.
No, it makes total sense.
And
Yeah.
re-roof, but yeah, the only part we're really cutting is just making that front facade by the patio have more glass. Everything else, it's kind of like, we just kind of want to preserve it because you've got this vernacular happening with all the farms concerned with this building and then that, and then the police station. It just, we don't want to, my take, like I mentioned, I got my certificate in historic preservation when I got my master's in architecture. And our take is we want to respect the past, but we want to pay homage to the future. So we will be very respectful to it, and then, you know, instead of mimic it, we'll kind of put in new modern storefront in very strategic locations and bring it up to a modern building, but yet, you know, pay the homage to, you know, it's deeply rooted in this community, that building, and so we want to be very respectful of that.
Yeah, my thought is like, you know, the idea of people being able to drive by and not think, oh, there's a new building there, to think, oh, there's the library, but it's got some makeup on it.
Yeah.
And I guess that my follow-up question would be, you know, we're talking about a partnership. Mayor Tran asked all the questions I was going to ask as far as what your ideas of partnership were, and so I think you answered that pretty well. I'm sure Mike will have some more detailed questions about long-term leases, but having to do with the partnership, would you be opposed to, and I'm tying you down here right now, but would you be opposed to there being some type of a citizen type committee that would at least have some input on things like, you know, exterior? Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who are very passionate about that, and so
and I'm going to interrupt you really fast. To the point, so you mentioned historic grants or something, and as far as my understanding is, if you change anything about the actual building, then it's not historic anymore. So I'm not sure exactly if does that matter if you don't qualify for those grants.
It's not it's a little convoluted.
Okay,
but there's federal tax credits, and if it's a non-registered, I know it's on the National Historic Register, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Right.
Where's Fawn?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
okay.
I thought. So since it's on the National Historic Register, that means you can manipulate the building.
Okay.
And with that comes, if it's on the register, but there's two levels of registry, I believe, but you can get up to a 5% tax credit at a federal level. And so we can go and register for those, and we
Okay.
can use those as savings.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've done
Yeah.
your homework then. Okay, good.
It sounds like
Good
you'd
to
be
know.
willing to work with them, and
Good.
then my last question, and this is a stretch, right? So this might be more of a statement than a question. You can sit down because it's going to be more of a statement. I've done my.
A speech. It sounds like a speech.
It's a speech, a little bit. No, it's not a speech, but I mean, the way my brain's going is you've got this food court. It's incredible, or looking pretty awesome, but you need asses in the seats or your butts in the table, whatever. And
This is Kaysville, John.
I'm thinking we're going to hear in just a minute about an idea of using empty parking lot as a place for a lot of people that could maybe, come and eat in this place. So I guess maybe keep open minds about how we could maybe merge these two ideas if possible, but that's just myself thinking out loud. Because I like to monopolize that idea of having a lot of people eating there and also a lot of places for people to live. So anyway, that's all of my comments.
And park. Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilmember Blackham. No questions?
I think with your questions and John's and their presentation, I think they've done a good job.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your ideas, and thanks for submitting. All right, turn the time over to City Creek.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor Tran, City Council members. I've been anticipating this day for a while, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Bob Murray. I live in Farmington, 513 Greystone, Farmington. And I too believe that when there's personal connection to a project, there's more passion and power behind not only the process, but what you deliver in the end. And so I'd like to, like these guys, talk a little bit about, if I can, my connection to Kaysville. So my wife and I moved to Kaysville in 1992. We brought our young family from Columbus, Ohio, and bought a home on 200 North up by Highway 89. Brig Lewis actually was my backdoor neighbor, rototilled my garden every summer. Love that guy. Our kids grew up here. They went to Burton Elementary, went to Kaysville Junior High. 2 of them graduated from Davis High School. We spent a lot of time in that library, checking out books, doing research papers, doing book reports. So there's a lot of fond memories with this building. We named our caboose baby Kaylee after Kaysville. And so there's a connection there. And three weeks after we moved into our house, I opened the County Clipper, the Davis County Clipper. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a picture of my great-great-grandfather, Joseph Egbert, who owned the hotel here on Main Street and was one of the first settlers of Case Creek. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know that. So that was pretty cool. He owned and managed that hotel on Main Street and owned several acres here in Kaysville. I was also instrumental in writing the proposal and securing the building, your new Kaysville Library. We built that building in a prior company that I worked for. So I've been in construction for over 15 years in development. Part of my heart is still here in Kaysville. I still go to Randy to get my shoes fixed.
Good.
The popcorn over at the theater, thank you, Mary Call, is the best popcorn in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
I still go to Bowman's and get the Texas-sized donuts because you can't find them anywhere else. And my wife loves to go and see Kathy at the Salon FX for pedicures. So part of my heart is still here. I love Kaysville. We lived here for 13 years, and I'm passionate about this community. So I haven't used this little unit here yet, but it looks like I can just advance it with that arrow. I want to just, first of all, just start out, give you a quick overview of what I'd like to talk about tonight. First of all, would just like to review your goals. You worked really hard as a city council and others to put together your goals for the vision of downtown Main Street and also for the heart of Kaysville. I'd like to talk about those goals for a minute, describe our proposed team, share some of our thoughts about how to best use the city building, and I have something else I'd like to share with you that I hope you can get excited about. Want to review the benefits of working with our team, and then some things that I think Kaysville City can help us with in moving forward. So first of all, your goals, you know them well. First of all, you want to save and you want to extend the life of this old building that's 80 years old. And for the last 8 years, it's been a storage facility for your stuff. That's not a great use for your building. We know, and we side with the people that want to preserve this building. We know there are some great uses for this building, and those just need to be identified. You want to energize the heart of the city. There's a lot of things going on here already, but I believe that you can do more. And your master vision, I think, spells that out beautifully. If you can execute that master vision, this is going to be an incredible Main Street. Bountiful City's trying to do this as well, and I'll talk a little bit about Bountiful City and what they're doing with their downtown corridor. But you want to facilitate connectivity in downtown with residents, with visitors, and you want to be able to complement the businesses that are already here. Elevate, expand, and promote downtown as a multifaceted activity center. Again, there's a lot going on down here, and there's a lot more that can happen. You want to have a proven financial structure that allows continued financial benefits to the city, and you want to be able to minimize your financial investment from the public funds. So this is, ours is a very different solution. But first of all, I want to just introduce our team. I represent City Creek Construction. We've been in business for 25 years. We recently moved to Main Street in Bountiful. We bought the Deseret First Credit Union building, a 40-year-old building. Maybe you've seen that as you've driven down Main Street. It's probably the most beautiful building on Main Street right now. And hopefully we won't be topped, but we built that building, or renovated that building just last year and moved into it last year, and we've been around for 25 years. We've got a great team. We do both construction and development. You can go to our website and see many of the projects that we've done. We have Steve Cornell as part of our team. He did the assessment for this building. He knows this building better than anybody, and he is exclusive to our team. He identified a lot of things that people didn't realize was happening in that building, including water damage and other things. This building's going to need a lot of work, as has been mentioned already. A whole new mechanical system, whole new electrical system, plumbing, roof. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And FFKR Architects is a great partner. They've been in business for 47 years. We've done some great projects with FFKR Architects. And Steve Cornell is awesome. The Green Collective, they're a Kaysville company. They're a cement company here. Morgan Green and Micah Green are going to partner with us to do some of the construction work, and they also have a financial investment partner that will back the finances of this project. We also have another company that is interested in backing the finances of this project as well in Centerville. So first of all, let's talk about the renovation of this building. We side with the folks that want to keep this building, and it is going to cost, as came out in that assessment, it's going to cost around $2.2 million to do what needs to happen to this building. We believe the construction timeline is going to be between 8 and 10 months. We also would like to do a public-private partnership with you, meeting together and making sure that you are involved, that the city's involved, and that we do the right thing for this building and for the building that I want to propose in addition to this. We believe that as I met with you, Mayor Tran, and also with Melinda Greenwood and John, it seemed to me like Kaysville City would like to keep this property. There's one big parcel here, and you know the county owns the corner, of course, but you own the rest. And it just made sense that you keep the property and maybe do a long-term lease agreement with us. In terms of building ownership, we'd like you to give us the building after we renovate it and put $2.2 million into it. And I don't know how long we would own the building and manage the building and maintain it. We're guessing anywhere between 5 and 15 years. That's negotiable. And then give Kaysville City the first right of refusal to buy the building back. In terms of tenants, you know, there's all kinds of tenants that could occupy this building. I love the idea of the museum and the art. I think that is a big part of Kaysville City, and the LeConte Stewart artwork is beautiful, and I think it needs to remain here. But We can put a coffee shop in there, we can do retail in there. There's a lot of things, professional services. There's a lot of uses that we can put in this building and make it very useful. Steve Cornell couldn't be here. His wife booked a trip to New York, and so he's playing in New York today. And but I just wanted to state that he is exceptional when it comes to understanding historic buildings. He worked for the state historical architect as a state historical architect for 3 years with the Utah Division of State History, and he's done over 50 historic renovation projects. So this guy knows his stuff, and he'll be a great partner on this project. In terms of historic continuity, FFKR is really good at this. We're very good at renovations. We've done several of those. I'm going to show you one tonight that I think mirrors this project really closely. But this is a project that was built for IBM years ago, and they have made this an adaptive reuse project, building 20 luxury apartments with a leasing office, clubhouse, and all kinds of amenities. And there's also going to be a 7-story luxury apartment building built in the back of this building, 161 apartments. It is pursuing the 20% federal historic tax credits through the National Park Service standards. Wow, does this building look familiar? Mm-hmm. It resembles the city building. It was actually built about the same time. This is the historic Camp Williams Officers Club, and this is a project that we just renovated this past year. And this was a significant renovation project for us, at $1.5 million. We literally cleaned and restored all the rock on the exterior and the interior, including fixing cracks, fixing broken rock, just making it so it looked pristine. And you can see the difference, the picture on the right and the picture in the middle. The middle is after we cleaned all the rock. We also performed a complete structural and seismic upgrade to this building. That was a significant project in itself. And all of the tiles on the inside ceiling are handcrafted on masonite board and hand painted for all of the different unit service agencies there. We cleaned and renovated those each of those tiles, which was significant and meant a lot to the officers there. We performed a complete, we converted all the lighting to LED lighting for energy efficiency. We replaced the roof with long-lasting wood composite shingles that look like wood shingles. We also reinforced the roof structure. A lot of these very same things are going to have to be done in this building if we're going to keep its historic value. We replaced all the electrical and the mechanical systems, modified the plumbing system. We even crafted new doors to replace some of the doors that have been damaged over time. And we made this project also ADA compliant, which it was not ADA compliant. So here's the big picture that we'd like to present. It's not a food court, but it's people that would certainly, occupy this building and the other restaurants that are along Main Street. One of my favorite restaurants is Orlando's. Their chicken strawberry salad is amazing. If you haven't had it before, it's really good. But we're talking about a 3-level apartment complex, 46 units, 14 2-bedroom units, 8 1-bedroom units, and 24 studio apartments. The design that Steve Cornell did on this as a mock-up, he terraced it back so it wouldn't overshadow or encumber or take away from this building, which is iconic for the city of Kaysville. Parking is a problem in Kaysville. I love your new vision plan because you're planning to do parallel parking on Center Street and some of the other streets. That'll help a lot with the parking problem. In our original proposal, we thought we'd do 71 units here. We thought no, maybe fewer units would be best. That way we can provide more housing or more parking for the city and also for people that come and visit Main Street. So we brought it down to 46 units with 3 levels of structured parking, 1 below grade, 1 at grade, and 1 above grade. So 113 total estimated stalls. Right now there's 71 stalls. So it would increase the stalls significantly. But again, you've got, 46 residents too, so they will take up some of that parking. Some of the benefits, I think, this would definitely energize the heart of Kaysville with more people connecting to the businesses and shops. It would produce a continuous tax revenue for the city, and it would provide covered parking for people from the police department, from the city hall, and from any visitors that would like to come and walk down Main Street and get popcorn at the popcorn shop. This is a breakdown of the costs and the timeline and some of the unit breakdown for this facility. We looked out there in the parking lot. We thought this can be more than just a parking lot. This can really help bring some incredible vitality and vibrancy to downtown. And if you look at a lot of the cities, they're trying their best to bring rooftops to the main street. So this cost, we estimated the cost to be between $14 and $16 million. We're figuring each door for this complex is going to be $300,000 to about $325,000. We figured that we could have it built within a 24-month to a 30-month period. We, again, would do a long-term ground lease with Kaysville City and allow you to continue to own the property. The ownership would be the newly formed LLC entity. They would own the complex, and they would hire a management company to manage and maintain this property. And again, some of the benefits would be additional parking to the city. I love this idea because as I look at other cities around, they're trying to do this. They're trying to bring people to Main Street. You can see the chart down there and the breakdown of the different units and the percentages and square footages. I just wanted to show you some of the projects that we've done. FFKR Architects did the IBM building there on the left. That's the building they're doing currently downtown in renovating that historic building. I guess it's not historic, but it's old. Members of our team were instrumental in building the project in Sugar House, the Sugarmont Apartments, 341 units. The project at the bottom is a project that we've got approval on from Bountiful City. It's 8 townhomes on Main Street at 400 North, or 400 South in Bountiful. We'll start that project in March. We've already received full approval from the city. We've also, members of our team, built the Wasatch Point Apartments up in Logan, 100 units. It's a 55-plus project. And that's been operational for the past about 12 years. Members of our team also built the Bodie Apartments in Salt Lake City, 80 units for the Utah Housing Authority. So we're very accustomed to building projects like this and very skilled at doing so. So why the benefits of this team? Actually, before I go to that, I did want to talk about downtown Main Street in Bountiful. Mm-hmm. So in addition to the townhome project that we're going to be starting in March, there is a project on Main Street about 200 North. It's the old Brooks Fabric building. Mm-hmm. If you remember the Brooks Fabric, it's a big pit right now, yeah. But they're planning several apartments there and commercial storefront facing Main Street. Also, you know where Marie Callender's used to be? Have you noticed that has been leveled? Mm-hmm. There's several apartments that will be built there, bringing more people to Main Street. And there will be commercial storefront there as well. We're also talking to John Egan. I don't know if you know John Egan has a service station there on Main Street at 400 South. John Egan has moved forward with an architect that we're working with to get approval to build 16 apartments at that location and with 6,500 square feet of storefront commercial, where there will be professional services and different uses. So Bountiful Main Street has become just a real community center. They have the Hancock Days. They shut that street down and they do Hancock Days, or Handcart Days, just like you do the parade here that we were involved in for 13 years. They also have a trick-or-treating down Main Street that's unbelievable. You wouldn't believe how many kids come down Main Street, like 2,000 kids and their parents. It's amazing. I don't know if you can do that here with this being a UDOT road, if you can shut it down or not for something like that. But they also have a car show. They shut down Main Street and they do a car show. And they also have a chalk festival, which is pretty incredible. I don't know if you've ever attended that. It's a lot of fun. Those are the kinds of things that I think you can do here, and bringing people here brings that vibrancy. So the first bullet, there's a lot of team members on our team that are Kaysville residents. Our president is Steve Byer. He lives in West Kaysville, and he's the one that established City Creek Construction 25 years ago. Our CFO is also a Kaysville resident. His name is Scott Johansson. They are members of our team. They're passionate about this community, and they want to work with you and partner to make this happen. Steve Cornell, he's the best of the best. I mean, he did a great job of assessing this building. I wouldn't have anybody else work on this building. He's amazing. He's done all kinds of adaptive reuse projects on historical buildings. He's been involved in a lot of multifamily projects. He'll be a great partner. We have 2 investment capital groups that are interested in backing this project. I don't have numbers for you on that and a pro forma because we haven't really locked down a solution yet for the apartment complex. But we did work diligently to truly try to understand and identify the sensitivities of not only the city building, but also the multifamily project. We got some great feedback from Melinda Greenwood and Mayor Tran. Thank you so much for your input. John Adams, I appreciated being able to meet with you and others from Kaysville City. When we're talking about historic tax credits, Steve Cornell worked as an architect for 3 years, like I said. We walked this site and identified all the things that needed to happen in order to preserve this historic building and to be able to get the full amount of tax credits. And you cannot alter the windows. You cannot alter parts of this building and get the historic tax credits that are available for this. Amber Anderson and Jansen Bennett went through very specifically what we needed to do and what we didn't need to do in order to preserve it. This is how you can help us. First of all, because this is one big parcel, in order to do ground leases, you're going to need to parcel it out into 3 different parcels. And to do those ground leases under the city building as well as a parking space that would then become the multifamily project. You need to also rezone the parcels from public zone to a commercial mixed use. We have a really good feel for what we're going to need to do with tax increment, and we're hoping that you can help us with that, and licensing fees, RDA funds, whatever might be available, that's all negotiable. And maybe nothing's on the table that you can help us with, but you know, we're willing to hear anything. We just believe the strength of this team will allow us to truly collaborate with members of the community and with you, and to be able to craft the ideal win-win solution that will bring the vibrancy and the energy to this city. And I know this is an out-of-the-box innovation, but in order to really do the things that I think you're wanting to do in Kaysville, you need big ideas, and to really make Kaysville what you want it to be. So that's my presentation tonight. I'm open to any questions that you might have. I don't have an army behind me to help answer, so I'm on my own. So let me do my best. Maybe I'll have these guys.
Yeah, right.
They might help me. So,
hey,
do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. This is, yes, it's a little bit outside the box, but you know, in order to change things, we need different ideas, and that's why we're so excited to have both of you here presenting. As we've thought about how can we preserve this building and, you know, pay homage to our heritage and keep our traditions without paying for it, actually, this is what has resulted. And so we're excited about these opportunities. I do have a question. As far as the current library building.
Yes.
So give us a little bit more insight into your vision for that building. Yes.
Well, I was mentioning that we purchased the Deseret First Credit Union building on Main Street in Bountiful. It's really interesting. We had a sign out there with our phone number on it, and we had several calls, and we had that building leased up 7,000 square feet 4 months before the building was even completed. We've got a professional executive coach in the lower level. We've got an architect on the main level. There's all kinds of professional services that would want a portion of the space. We would parcel the space up and have different uses within there. One of the ideas that we thought we could put in there would be maybe a leasing office for the apartments in the back. We could also put a coffee shop in there in addition to that. I'd love to have the museum and the art display in there as well. Have a museum. There's really no museum for Kaysville right now, is there?
Right.
There's one in Centerville, there's one in Farmington, but we have nothing for Kaysville, and it would be wonderful to have something here that, that people can come and see and connect with the history. There's really all kinds of different uses that we could put in this building.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Start down
I
here.
have a question.
Okay, Councilmember
Okay,
Jackson.
so regarding the parking, I was looking at the map, and I just want to get a clear understanding of where the entrance and exits would be for the underground parking, and you have one underground level, one main, and then above. Could you, I guess, go to one of the pictures and kind of describe where the parking would be?
Oops.
I understand it the way you explain it, but when I look at the building, yeah, that picture, that last one.
So do I have a pointer on this thing? Right at the
I
top.
think he wants to go one more back. There you go.
Where's my pointer? Somebody tell me where the pointer is.
The center button.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Just explain it the best you can.
Well, the main entrance would be right here,
Okay.
coming through. And I believe there's an entrance on this side as well.
So there would be two entrances into the
Yeah.
parking, okay.
Yeah, there would. Now,
And then how far back? So if you have parking on the main level and one up, like how far forward would that come?
so we would want to put apartments on the main level here.
So like
because that
one
just
set of
softens-
apartments and then parking
Yeah.
behind,
And then the
okay.
parking would be behind.
Okay,
We want to have, this just really softens the look. Otherwise, if this looks like a big parking structure here, it's not going to be nearly as appealing.
Right.
So that's why we wanted to put some apartments on the main level, and then the parking would be in the rear.
Well, and I know in your presentation you said this is conceptual and it could, I mean, this is not exactly necessarily
No,
what
not at
you're,
all.
okay, so we could work on that. I like the terraced, and I like
Yeah.
the way that you've softened it.
And
as
the
you
views
go
out
up.
the back of the mountains will be incredible.
My question's
Go ahead.
My question's also parking related, because I did the math. I mean, there are 46 units. If each unit had 2 cars, that'd be 92 cars, and there's 113 stalls. I mean, I think there's something we need to be thinking about, because that would leave 21 stalls
For city
available
parking.
for
So
city
I'm
and.
not sure what the parking code is here. Is it 1.5 per?
Melinda will
I
tell
don't
us.
know what the code is, but I know what people do. Like,
Yeah.
and that's, I think that would be like, I mean, that would be, if I lived in the apartment, I'd be like, hey, I want my dedicated, I wouldn't want to come in and have to look for parking. So I'm assuming, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't assume anything, but my guess is that you would have a section that would be just for people who lived there. And
We would need to do that.
and would you portion, so you're saying you'd maybe portion that part off based off of the code versus like, hey, you each get 2 stalls,
Well, the studio apartments would only be relegated to one car.
one car?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was
And that would significantly reduce, the numbers.
24
Right.
24 of them. Okay,
But we would need to identify and identify specific places where the public could park.
Right.
that's just something I think maybe, that's the only thing that I was like, oh man, we really need to look at that, because we definitely wouldn't want to we wouldn't want to make it less than what we have right now. 'Cause we're
Exactly.
trying to push them over
We can work through those
numbers.
details.
Okay,
We'll
So-
get the smart guy back here that does all the design.
I like it.
And so you're picturing a 4-story building total, right?
Yes, yeah, counting the ground level, right.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Gosh, yeah.
That's all the questions.
Totally outside the
Kinda
box,
fun.
but it's,
Outside the
I
box.
mean, but it's interesting, and
Totally innovative.
I really love what Bountiful's done, and we want to, Kaysville would love a Trader Joe's, for example. In order to get restaurants and stores like that, you have to have
You have to
the
have people.
walkability and to have people in that area. So any other questions, anyone? Yes.
I promised I wouldn't ask questions because I'm doped up. But
He just had foot surgery.
you never know what I might say. But what I want to say to both teams is thank you, because we went into this, when we went out for the RFP, like Councilmember Adams said, I think there were a lot of us that were concerned we wouldn't get anything back that might be doable. And so you talk about due diligence, because there's such a love for that building here in Kaysville, and to be able to keep it and have options. I want to say thanks. I mean, I don't know which way we're going to end up going, but just to add my thanks for that, because I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, it's going to be hard to find anybody to come in and put $2 million into a building,
Right.
And not get a whole lot out of it. You know,
Right.
And the only way that we would probably do it is if we were able to do the multifamily project as well. That's how it makes it pencil for us, because I don't think we could do the city building on its own. And I don't think, I mean, if you have some rich people in Kaysville that are willing to put that money in, but they haven't
We've
come
been
forward
waiting
yet,
for them
right?
to write us a check, and
So,
hasn't
hey,
happened yet, so.
Thank you so much for your
Hey,
time.
Thank you.
We'd love to work with you, and
Thank you.
hope that we can make that happen.
Okay,
Hey, one
thank
quick,
you so much.
actually, I have a
Go-
quick
go
question,
ahead.
and I
Yes.
apologize. I should have been
Councilmember
quicker on the
Jackson.
draw after
No,
my
you're good.
first. Okay, so just clarification. You mentioned to qualify for the historic tax credit,
Yes.
you want to be able to alter the windows or the doors at all. Is there different tiers of the historic tax credit? Would it be either all in or all out as far as the type of what you're thinking?
You know, I don't
and-
know that, but I know that Steve Cornell knows that.
Okay.
But when we walked through the building with the historic tax credit
Mm-hmm.
people, they said, in order to get the 20% historic tax credits, you can't alter the windows.
You can change the windows, right, to more like double, triple pane, but you just can't alter the size. Is
You
that
can put a double pane window on the inside.
okay?
To,
Okay.
you know, to make it more energy efficient, but you couldn't change the windows on the outside.
Okay. No,
Or
that's
if you
helpful.
changed the windows on the outside, they had to exactly replicate the windows that
The
are
previous. Okay, that's helpful.
And there's other
clarification.
things too that they said, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's very specific.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
Thank you both. Appreciate you. I know it takes a lot of time and energy and attention to detail, so we're excited about these. At least I am. And I was very confident that we'd get some great proposals, and so thank you for coming through for me. I really appreciate it, for all of us. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, conflicts of interest, council. Do we have anything to declare? No? Okay, so we'll go on to consent items. Any conversations, or does someone want to make a motion? Councilmember Oaks.
I do have a question, and again, I apologize when I said I wouldn't, but on the neurofeedback system, is there anybody here who can talk? Okay, no, I just was wondering, who's going to run it for them? Do we know?
I did take the time to go talk to the police chief about this one. I can give you a little information on it if you would like.
Please.
So the only,
Point of order, do we need to have it removed from the consent agenda to have a discussion about it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we move consent item B from the consent agenda and that we approve A and C.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Blackham.
aye.
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 Councilmember Jackson?
Nay.
Nay?
No.
Okay. All right, motion passes. All right, go ahead, Councilmember Blackham.
So what this is it's just another tool in the toolbox of our, and I don't have the right, our psychologist, is that what he is? What's his title?
Yeah,
He's a
Therapist, psychologist. Okay, so in order to even purchase this, we had to have him. Nobody can just purchase this without having a psychologist or somebody on staff like that. What it does is it is for our ongoing firefighters and police officers. And what it does is it gives them the opportunity to go in and talk about critical incidents and things like that, or issues that may be bothering them or whatever, or they can use it. Chief has a policy that everybody, because nobody wants to say, hey, somebody's going in to see the psychologist, he must have a problem. So that's not how it works. It's like everybody goes and sees him every 6 months, at least. So they go in and they visit with him. This is just another tool that actually measures the waves in your brain in the different areas that tell you, you may be firing normally in most of your areas, and then one of them may be firing off and totally excitable. It kind of pinpoints an area that they need to work on, or they need to say, this may be a little bit more than what we can handle. We suggest you go elsewhere and maybe take care of this. But it's just another tool. And the chief said probably wouldn't have gotten this, but they received a grant. There was a $1 million grant by the state of Utah given to the police agencies, public safety agencies, so that they could help with their ongoing mental illness or mental stability, or looking at the mentalness of the officers, of ongoing officers, retired officers, retired firefighters, retired police, ongoing firemen. And so it's just another tool that they can use to help.
But we have someone who's qualified to use it, and that was my biggest question.
Yes, I agree. Same thing.
Okay, because I have a lot of experience in how they work to be able to restructure how the brain works. I'm a big believer, and unfortunately have probably spent $15,000 to $20,000 on therapy because it's not for children, because it's not covered by insurance.
And what they do, so he goes to a 3-day course where he learns how to use this. Obviously, he's already got a lot of experience in that. Then, in order to actually use it, because of HIPAA, there has to be another independent person that is not one of the people on staff. So he has talked to some of the doctors and psychologists that work with mental health throughout the county, and they together work with this piece of equipment to help these people who may need it.
Yeah, no, they're very beneficial. My concern was that they didn't have someone qualified, and now we have a piece of equipment.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I was afraid we'd have a $35,000 piece of equipment with getting dust in the corner and not
All right,
using
sorry
it.
about that. Thank you.
No, don't apologize. Good questions.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
So I have some questions. So these are consent items.
Right.
Too late.
We're approving to consent the purchase of a program that I don't know the cost. This sounds, it probably works great, but I think we're one of the only cities that has actually a therapist for law enforcement and families, which is great, and that's kind of a trial. Are we agreeing to just this program that we haven't been briefed on? Okay. I do think it's kind of unacceptable that this would be on an action item without having a brief from the chief or the therapist, the cost and everything associated with that. And even that just happened so quickly, but I would like, before we start voting on some of these things for approval, even if it's pretty standard, it would be nice to be briefed, especially on that 200 North project and design. I just don't feel comfortable doing that.
Go ahead.
If you want me to talk about that one, I can talk a little bit about the one on C also.
Well, I think we need to have a proper presentation from the city.
He's right there.
Before we vote on these things, especially an expensive program. I mean, we have folks here that are living, on Social Security, paycheck to paycheck. I struggle in my household. We improved police pay to be competitive this year, and to have this come before us and not have any idea what it is, I just think it's reckless as a council to move forward. I'm not against it. I just want to be properly briefed. So that's my thing.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Procedurally?
Yes.
The only reason you're seeing this item is because we didn't budget for it through the budget process for FY23. So if it was budgeted for, the chief and the staff would just purchase this. So you're seeing this one because it wasn't budgeted, because we didn't have any idea this. I don't think he even knew this existed last year. As Councilmember Blackham mentioned, we got a grant for this. So I believe the cost is included in your packet. I don't think the cost is not aware, so you should be aware of the cost. And it's included in the packet, and we did receive a grant. So this isn't, the net cost of the city is $0.
Right.
So that should be included in there. Councilmember Black mentioned a few of the interesting aspects of this. It sounded futuristic when Chief Olbert mentioned it to me. I thought it was really interesting. But as far as the council and the procedure, the reason why you're seeing it on the consent is because it wasn't approved. And our procurement policy dictates that things that are not part of the approved budget come to the council for that. As far as number C, which has already been adopted, that is we ask our engineering and public works department to vet out design and coordination service contracts, and they go through a bid process, and we present to you the lowest qualified bidder. I think the idea of consent is that there's not really a decision to be made. Now, you could argue that there is. You can take it off there. We can discuss it, and we can vet it out further, and we're happy to do that. But when we go through a process that you have established, that we go through bidding, and we present to you the lowest qualified bidder. And that, to us, I think from a legal perspective, from a professional perspective, that's really what we should do as a city. And we ask, Josh and Nick and those folks to do that. And again, if you want to speak about it more, we're happy to do that. But I asked the staff. Some of them are here tonight. I asked them not even to come with consent items because there's rarely an issue or a decision there to be made. Now, that's my opinion. But from a procedural perspective, I think that.
And just a point of clarity, the only reason this one is even on the consent list is because it exceeds the amount that you're approved to approve.
25 grand, right?
So it has to come here, and that's why we look to see it was part of the budget.
Correct.
And isn't that correct?
That's right. But even if it's a $150,000 truck and you adopted it if you remember,
Initial
we adopted
budget.
it in the budget, that won't come to you either. But
Right.
yes, you're right. If it's $400 and it wasn't budgeted, we can and will approve those. Correct.
Right.
Can I speak to that as
Sure,
well?
yes.
Okay. When it comes to the 200 North is such a main street for our city, I am very interested in design aspects. And I understand the thought process of going with the lowest qualified bid, but that doesn't necessarily translate in my mind to what's best for the city and what's best for that street. And then in terms of the grant, so I was under the impression that the grant pays for the therapist.
Different one.
It's a different.
Okay, so this is a different grant.
Yeah.
And is there any additional money, because I read through the packet, but I didn't see that the exact number. Is there any additional money other than the grant that was received for this equipment? And is there any continuous funds that go into it after the grant is finished?
Are you talking about software licensing or something like that, or a program license?
Yeah, I just know that from Chief Olbert's staff report that this is
a one-time
100%
purchase.
paid for by the grant. So I think if there's a grant that runs out, we won't have this piece of equipment anymore. It's like a trial. As Councilmember Blackham said, you have to have a therapist that, and Councilmember Oaks asked about, you have to have a therapist that does this program. So it's not, they don't just give it to anybody. We had to apply for it. But yes, there is no net cost to the city.
So absolutely no cost above the grant?
Above the grant, no.
Okay, because I am not willing to even entertain any item that falls outside of the budget at this point. I think we need to stick, there's no hurry on some of this stuff.
Right, and we appreciated that feedback from the council retreat. And I think if there would have been a cost to the city, then definitely they would have postponed this. But
Well,
I still wish we could have been briefed more on this,
Go ahead.
more specifically, but.
How do we put it back? How do
Can
we
I-
put it back
Okay,
on a consent?
so,
I
You
can
gonna make a
if I just
motion?
real quick, but maybe make a quick comment. I mean, I don't know if people have been paying attention to the news lately, but with the I think that the chief and everybody's going to be inundated with people saying, you know, what are you doing to help police officers and with the violence that's happening? And I'm like, to me, the fact that we aren't having to pay for this, but even if we had to, it may even be something, like, I agree with Nate, if it was something we had to pay for, I'd want to see it, but it's being approved, but it still may be something that I would totally support, because for us, right now, we need every tool in our belt to be able to say we're doing everything possible on as far as Kaysville Police to train and make sure that our police officers have the well-being in place. And so I think that it's a great thing and it's paid for. So I'll make a motion that we add B back to the consent item and approve it.
I second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Comments? Okay, Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, thanks for sticking with us, everybody. We are now to our council member reports, and we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Our city manager, Shane Scott, right there, is retired. No, he's retiring from Kaysville, and and he's moving on up to Summit County. He's accepted a job as the Summit County city manager, which is a really thrilling and exciting opportunity for Shane. This is his last council meeting with us as a city, and we're going to miss him. I've had the pleasure of working with Shane probably for the last almost 4 years as a planning commissioner, council member, and mayor, and it has been so much fun to get to know him as a person, as a manager, as a leader. And so we just have a little presentation for you. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we, as a council, we decided we'd talk about something or bring something to kind of roast/tease Shane just a little bit, just for fun, because he hates it and he can't do anything about it. So, okay, so Shane is one of the things that I really admire about Shane is he's very good at being professional. And he's really good at answering questions, and he's really good at being patient. And he's really good at time management. And so I got him this button. I don't know if it's appropriate.
Fully appropriate.
Fully appropriate.
Okay, so this is a button. So I know that there are many times when we have conversations.
What does it say, Mayor?
It's a no button, and it has a speaker. And I know that there's probably so many times when we come up with some brilliant idea, and Shane's like, but he doesn't say it. He's really kind and he's really patient as he tries to explain things to us and explain how things work. And he's worked with 3 different mayors over the last 6.5 years and lots of different council members. And so it's a lot of repeating himself over and over, explaining how things work over and over and reminding us, where our lane is and where the staff's lane is and what our responsibilities are. So it's got a little recording, so I just press it. Anyway, so that's for Shane. So I got that. And then one of the things that Shane really does well, many things, but one of the things that I've admired is he has a book club for his staff. And I really enjoyed watching him introduce really awesome books and letting the department managers introduce books that will better themselves and help them to improve and help them to learn more. So I just got this book for you, Still in Focus. You've probably already read it. It's really good. It just talks about how we're all distracted. But Shane, I really admire the fact that you're willing to learn and you're always willing to teach. And so I'm going to miss you a ton, and I'll still have to text you at 10 o'clock just for kicks. So thank you for all that you've done. I will turn the time over to someone else. Who wants to go next?
Sure. I will. So my wife is I call her a world-class baker. And I didn't get this body by eating, never mind. And so Shane, put together chocolate chip cookies that she made, and just to show you what you won't be getting for the next 3 years while I'm on council. So, and just wanted to say thanks for all you've done, especially for new council members, helping us to try to get up to speed and answering questions you've answered every couple of years as you get new ones on council. So thank you and best of luck. Yeah.
Abby?
Well, I mean, Shane's kind of an old guy. So he's one of the few people I know who still uses a planner. So I got him a pen to go with his planner, which I respect so much. And I even drove to Bountiful to have it engraved with Kaysville City. They couldn't put anything long enough to be embarrassing for you. So it just says Kaysville City. So you can actually still use it. But I got that for you. Thanks, Shane.
Okay, so I have a gift for you. I left it in my car. I was just eager to, I love city council meeting. It's, I was so eager to get in here that I left it. But I thought, what do you get the guy who knows it all? Like Shane, he's a know-it-all. And so I went to Barnes & Noble, and there's a philosopher. He's like a mad scientist with philosophy. He was born in 1901, and he wrote this book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And it's a thick book. It's like an encyclopedia. And so that's in my car, and there's a gift receipt as well. But I hope you take a serious study of all the ancient secrets in this world. With that, I have to say, it's tough starting out as a new council member. I've worked for the federal government in politics for over 10 years, and this is a whole new ballgame working in city government. I absolutely love it, but it's drinking from a fire hose. And from the get-go, one thing I picked up on really quickly is the staff. It's like a big family here. Like everyone that works for the city, they're just so great and cohesive. And that really comes from the leadership that you brought to the city, Shane. And so I just want to say thank you for helping me drink from the fire hose. Thank you for teaching me a few things as well. And for all the work you've done to bring a great cohesive approach to the city and all the staff. And wish you the best on your future. So,
Thank you.
I can go and jump
All right.
to the last.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I thought the biggest gift I was given to him was the fact he didn't have to work with me anymore, to be honest with you.
Linda, you laughed too hard there.
But I know I've made him. But the one thing he told me one time is he says, this job he never loses any sleep over this job. And I thought, I have lost more sleep over working for the city and doing this than anything you could ever imagine. As you all know, you probably don't know, as I did work for the city before I became a council member, before I retired and that. But my wife said I should get him some of that NyQuil stuff so that he can sleep, because maybe Summit County will keep him awake a little bit at night. But I've got a hat, and I promise it's never been worn. It's a Kaysville City Building Department hat. It's only, as far as I know, there's never been any others made of it. It's only one run that I ever saw done. And for some reason, when you see Shane and he's not at work, he's always got a goofy hat on. And so I'd like to give him this hat. And it says Kaysville City Building Department. You probably won't see any of these anywhere else, or it'll be unique of its own.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome.
Okay, John.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad I'm going last.
Rip it up.
I was actually told to roast you. I thought everybody was supposed to roast you. Everybody's being so nice.
We just need.
I mean, I
would do it.
wrote roasts for like Josh and everybody. I'm not going to do it because it just would sound like I was really mean. I had stuff against Mike. I had semi-appropriate stuff against the mayor, but I'm going to cut it all. All right?
John.
I am. And it really was. It was hard to think of anything to roast Shane about. He's practically perfect. I mean, he's a little bit shorter than the average 8th grader, but he makes up for that with his charm. I mean, if you put Shane in front of a citizen that has a problem, they'll come out of there with more warmth and anger towards him than they are towards the actual subject. And so, it's just a talent you have really to distract them away from the real rage that they're feeling. One thing I did want to point out is that his pants have seemed to shrink each year that I've known him, and it's like they're getting smaller and smaller every time. But that's okay. That's a trend for 20-something-year-olds. So I really think that we need to lay off the being rude. I won't say any of the more stuff. I wrote a lot of roasting stuff. I bought you a book, John Adams. I don't know if you've read or heard of this man, but it's a semi-narcissistic gift because it's my name, and I actually autographed it so that you have a book from John Adams, named John Adams.
They have the author do that.
Yeah, well,
Just like who the book's about.
this David McCullough guy, he did a lot of advising for me. Yeah. So anyway, it is a good book, and I wrote something in there specifically talking about that I count you as a good friend, and more than a colleague. You are kind, you are generous, and super intelligent. And we've been lucky to have you. I mean, you also put up with a lot of crap, and you stuck through it, which is more than I think most people would have done. And you stuck through it with a lot of class, man. Classy guy, class act. So applaud you for that. Just grateful to have you as a colleague and a friend. I got you a tie, but whatever. Just thank you, and Godspeed, my friend.
Thank you, everybody. Well, Shane, we're going to miss you, and now it is your turn to give your last city manager report.
I gotta say something after that. Mayor and council, that's just very kind of you to take that time to say something. Obviously, I do not think I am any more important than anybody that works here, and I don't think you think I am either, but we've worked very closely together, and so that what you just said, that means a great deal to me. I'm excited about having gifts. I didn't even think that I would, and Abby, you didn't know that I like to go to the Mont Blanc store there and look at pens. I think I geek out over that. I love a good pen about as much as anything.
I think that says Pentel.
Yeah. And just all those things were very thoughtful. And I like McCullough. I've read a couple of his books. 1776, I think he wrote that, and as well as the Wright brothers. So those were two of my favorites. So and burnt orange is my favorite color, Mike. So but this is what makes this so hard for me. This is why I'm going to. I know that I will have wonderful relationships with my new employer and the staff there, but this is just devastating to me to leave you. And this is what I will miss, and it's the people. It's just the people. I was going to read I had Chat GPT write a letter saying goodbye that I posted on Facebook if you really care that much. I was going to read that tonight, but I'm not going to do that. But it really did surmise my feelings pretty well about how much I'm going to miss it. And it says in there, this isn't goodbye, but see you later. It said that in there, and I thought, how is a robot coming up with this stuff? But that's really how I feel. So thank you so much for the best 6 years of my life, and I'm not going to bigger and better things, just different things, and I will always love Kaysville. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for bearing with us. All right, now I need a motion to go into a closed session. The closed session will maybe take a couple minutes, so you're welcome to stay, and then we'll come back and adjourn, or you're welcome to leave, whatever you guys would like to do. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation and your participation. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move into a closed session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
How long do you think? Till March 17th.
30, I don't know, it's just to talk about this stuff.